On April 19th, 1995, Oklahoma City became the epicenter of mounting white Christian nationalism in the United States. 168 lives were lost when Timothy McVeigh blew up the Alfred P. Murrah building in downtown Oklahoma City to avenge the federal government for the Waco, Texas incident just 2 years prior. The more than 500 people who were injured, all those downtown that day, and generations of Oklahomans and Americans have been left to reckon with the forces of evil and bigotry that erupted that day. Both my parents were downtown that day. My mother was visiting her advertising clients and just a few blocks away when the blast shattered the windows of the office building as well as totaled her car. Frantically, she tried to reach my dad, who was working for Ford Motor Company at the time, repossessing vehicles and often frequented the Murrah building garage. Their shoulda, coulda, woulda story of how life could have been very different that day is shared by many Oklahomans and is a form of collective memory that I grew up on. And the Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum now exists atop the site of the bombing and operates on the following mission statement. We come here to remember those who were killed, those who survived, and those changed forever. May all who leave here know the impact of violence, and may this memorial offer comfort, strength, peace, hope, and serenity. The Oklahoma City National Museum and Memorial holds decision-making power for how the public remembers this event and remains an integral institution to Oklahoma, the United States, and other national memorials. Yet, there are stories that still go untold in this collective memory of domestic terrorism. This project seeks to uncover these stories and scrutinize the current memorial museum through autoethnographic methods. Autoethnography allows the blending of both art and social science to illustrate the realities of that deadly day from perspectives that are often ignored. Interviews from first responders who were left to deal with pulling the dead from the rubble, the local Muslim community leaders who were targeted and harassed in the days after, members of the Timothy McVeigh prosecution team, as well as workers from the daycare in the Murrah building, reveal first-hand accounts and experiences that would otherwise be lost to history. They hold a missing piece of the story that the Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum has left behind and does not tell. Autoethnography illustrates new perspectives in the collective memory, as well as finds and fills in the gap in existing related storylines. This project frames itself around the question of whose stories are included in the public collective memory of the Oklahoma City bombing and whose are excluded altogether. I rely on dyadic interviews from a frame of narrative theory to identify and recover these missing stories from those impacted by the bombing all those 27 years later. I am currently uncovering these stories by conducting interviews with participants, going through the Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum archives, such as trial records, oral histories, etc., as well as taking extensive field notes from my visit this summer with Dr. Erica Dakin-Kirby, as well as my future visits this fall at the physical site of the memorial and museum. I'm also exploring the Oklahoma Standard website and magazine that is housed on the website of the Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum, moving back and forth through the timeline of the bombing using a layered account. I compare participant stories with my own experiences of growing up in Oklahoma City with this story and contrast the established narrative of public memory of the bombing with their accounts. Historian Peter Novick contends that collective memory simplifies, sees events from a single, committed perspective, is impatient with ambiguities of any kind, and reduces events to mythic archetypes. There are obvious benefits to the existence of the Memorial Museum, such as to preserve the memory of this event for the public, offer a voice for victims and their families, as well as bring the Oklahoma City bombing story to the national stage. Their obvious authority, however, should not be exempt from critique, and in order to capture the whole account of the events of April 19th, 1995, there should be an intentional inclusion of as many perspectives and individual memories to create a complete and comprehensive narrative of that day. This summer's data collection has enabled me to reintroduce some of these narratives to the public sphere, and I intend to continue this effort for future publications. As I move forward with this project and my plans for publication, I plan to focus on how the role of the public, outside of those whose job it was to address the devastation, is minimally addressed in the memorial and museum, as well as the Oklahoma Standard, based on how the community came together, is still widely touted today, and where are those stories? If you want to learn more or have any questions for me personally, feel free to contact me or my advisor, Dr. Erica Dakin-Kirby. Thank you.